This is the pullback to moving average system, or some people just simply refer to it as a moving average pullback or moving average bounce trade setup there. So to get this open, go to your workspaces and look for SI pullback to MA, right? And that'll open up this chart for you. As we can see here, right, this system is identifying those pullbacks with the bounce bar after the bounce bar here, right? So a little pullback there, and then once we get a down bar, there we go. The signal's generated on the actual bounce bar there. So as the name implies. So, all right, let's open up Bloodhound, take a look inside here. So this is kind of a commonly known trading concept here, right? It's been around for a very, very long time. So nobody, I don't think anybody really knows what the source is anymore here, but we did manage to find a example video there for you. So, all right, so let's take a look at these different nodes here. So everything, in Bloodhound. The beauty of Bloodhound is everything is adjustable here. So notes have been placed here, so that way you know what everything is doing. So we'll go over all that quickly. So this first note here is making sure that the market pulls away from the moving average a minimum distance. So the default here is 2 ATRs, right? The next node down here is ensuring that the moving average has a strong enough slope, right? So for example here, if we wanted to eliminate this, right, we can see that the slope down is weaker, right? It's less than the slope running up. So if we increase the requirement of the slope, then we could eliminate this signal here altogether there. All right. So again, the slope requirements, we put them in ATRs. So that way, right, that requirement there adjusts with the volatility of the day, right? Some days are going to be a lot more volatile, as kind of like what we see here. So therefore, you might want a stronger sloping moving average there, right? And the same with the distance here, right? As mentioned before, 2 ATRs, so you can go in and adjust that. And being ATR based, again, it's going to, automatically adjust with the volatility of the current day there. Right? Next are the two function nodes here, right? So the signal counters here. So as the name implies, they are making sure that we have at least 4 out of the last 6 bars with this 2 ATR separation, right? So what that means is that you need a certain number of bars here to have that 2 ATR spacing. So as we can see here, right, no signal occurred because it looks like we only had maybe 2 bars here of that 2 ATR spacing between the moving average, right, and price there. So again, that's all adjustable there, right? The higher the bar count, right, probably the better looking the bounce signals will be, just like this one, right? There's several many bars here that have that 2 ATR separation there. So if you want to allow these smaller ones, little basic ones, like, maybe something like this there, reducing the number of bars, that have to have that 2 ATR separation there will help, right? So for both of those, right? So this is 4 out of the last 6 for that minimum slope requirement of the moving average there. And then what defines that nice clean pullback here? So let's take a look at another example here, back here, right? So we can see price did pull away, and it definitely looks like we have that separation. We have the bar count, and we do have a good strong move up in the moving average. But what happened? We didn't get a good quick pullback. Market just consolidated, and the moving average basically just caught up to it. It's not really a pullback there. And so what's determining that is the signal extenders here, right? So we can see it is set right now to 8 bars. So um, that means the market does need to have that good quick pullback within 8 bars. Otherwise, a signal won't be generated there. Just like here, right? It took many, many bars of consolidation before price actually reached and the moving average caught up to price there. So it would be possible to generate a signal there, but you would have to increase the signal extender quite a lot to get from, it looks like either here or here we have that spacing. This looks like this has the 4 bars of spacing. That probably not so much, right? And also we do have that minimum slope requirement there of the moving average. So you have to go from here and extend those conditions all the way forward here. So that looks like you'd have to double the number of bars there to extend things forward and then kind of get that sloppy bounce or probably just a touch. I don't think we'd consider that a bounce, right? All right, one other thing here, one other last component that makes up a bounce signal is how close does price need to get to that moving average. So here we have 2 ideals where the bars actually touch that moving average, right? But if you've ever looked at bounce signals, we know that we'll try and play around with this, that sometimes the market will get close, but not quite touching, right? So to adjust that, so these 2 nodes down here identify when price is at the moving average. So this one, as it's labeled, this actually identifies when a bar literally touches your moving average. This one is looking at the wicks and it's saying, okay, if the wick gets within a quarter of an ATR to that moving average, that's close enough, and we'll consider it, that touch or that ready for that bounce there. So, all right, so that's adjustable there, a quarter ATR, or you could disconnect it, completely, and that means price literally has to touch the moving average there if you just simply disconnect it right there. So same thing with, if you don't want to require any kind of minimum slope on your moving average, then, again, you could just disconnect that. So, all right. All right. Also, we do have an exit here as well for each of these bounces. So the exit signal occurs if the entire bar crosses over the moving average. So let's double click on this and we can see the exit signals here, right? Now, of course, long exit signals do not exit long bounces, right? But this does demonstrate once a bar completely closes on one side of that moving average, that's our exits. So what would pertain to these long bounces here, right? So if we look at our bounce signals there, the exit signal would occur on that bar because we can see the wick is no longer touching the moving average. So the entire bar is below that moving average. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, and there's our exit signal, right? So shorts, right, red signals, exit long trades, and green or long signals, exit short trades, right? So your exits are the opposite direction of your entries. And the next logic template here is just to show you again, but for a different moving average. So as we can see, this is set to the 50 moving average there. So I don't think we have any, yeah, there we go. So we do have a bounce there. And there you go. This kind of demonstrates the separation, right? Price doesn't always touch the moving average. And so if we zoom in here, down again, right, that would be this node right here, looking to see if the low wick or the high wick got within a quarter ATR of the moving average there. And then, yeah, again, an exit signal for the SMA 50 moving averages there. Within these exit signals here, we do have this extra here that will generate a quicker exit. So this is just simply looking for the closing price to cross the moving average, not the entire bar. So if you want to use those faster exit signals, all you need to do is just connect it in, and there we go. So this slower exit, as you can imagine, allows for price to kind of bounce around a little bit of time. As we can see, price kind of bounced around a little bit here before it took off. So, and sometimes, when price is taking a moment to rest on that moving average, right, that might generate a premature exit signal there. So there you go. So you have both of those exit signals there for both systems. So even the EMA 30 there has the same thing. All right, with that, now let's take a look at the Blackbird system. So let's go into our strategies window here and go into SharkIndicators and then add Blackbird down below. And let's open up the files here. So we can see this system has two files here. So one of them is the profit target is set to a 1 to 3 risk reward profit target, and the other one is using a swing high or swing low to set that. So this profit target using the swing high and low was actually came from that video that was listed, as a example video within the Bloodhound system there. So, all right, so let's open up the risk reward one here. So once that's loaded in, remember strategies always need to be enabled before they turn on there. And of course, personal preference, you can enable or disable the exit on session close there. All right, let's open up Blackbird and take a look inside. Now, these are set to the EMA 30 bounce there. So if you want to run them on the SMA 50, all you need to do is go into your entry signals there and just simply select the SMA 50 bounce for your entry. And as usual, just remember to also change your exits, either disable your exits, and you could let the stop loss do its job, or at the very least, make sure that the exit signals match your entry signals there, right? So very quick and easy to adjust whatever EMA you want to use. And of course, if you want to make your own moving average system there, obviously you can do that within Bloodhound. And we'll go back to that and talk about that real quick. The risk reward chosen here, just a simple 3 to 1 there. So you can set this to whatever your personal preference is. Right there's the risk reward ratio, so you can increase that or decrease it, whatever you think is appropriate there. Now, the stop loss, once again, is using, a classic recent low point there. So it's going to be using the lowest low of the last 3 bars there. And that is a fixed stop loss there. So if you would like to have a trailing stop loss, easily done. We can just go in and cancel that stop loss. And then from the quick list there, we can go down to the bar low high quick list here. And you could use, so there's a predetermined, right, 4 bar one with trailing there. And then you can go and adjust that to whatever you like, 2 bar low, 3 bar low, with a 2 bar or 3 bar trailing as you see appropriate there. We'll go in and take a look there. So here we are in the trailing actions tab there. So if we wanted to say, okay, don't trail the last 4 bars, but let's tighten that stop loss up. And then we can go in here and then open up the move 2. All right, and there is our look back period, and we can just reduce that down to only a 2 bar look back. So lowest low, the last 2 bars. All right, and tighten that trailing up a little bit. So again, everything's fully adjustable here. So these are really just kind of starting points just to get you going there. The money management has been left blank. So you can plug in here whatever you think is appropriate, right, for your risk management there. The signals, from Bloodhound, they are already constrained to US US RTH, but the scheduling is enabled, so that way you have the force trades to exit. So you can utilize that to make sure that you're all closed out by the end of the day there. All right. Now let's take a look at the other Bloodhound system, or sorry, at the other Blackbird system. So here we go, pullback to MA. This time the profit target is using the swing high and swing low. Opening up the profit target there, go to the options tab, and there we go. We can see the initial placement is set to the swing patterns there. Right. So if you'd like to add that indicator, so if you do want to use the swing high, and the swing low is your profit target, and you would like to add that indicator to your chart, we can go into indicators, and the indicator that's being used is this free one that comes with SharkIndicators. So, and it would be the swing highs and lows right there. So we can add that to the chart, and I believe, yeah, this is just using a number of swings set to 2, like so. The calculation type is standard, swing strength is 7. So, and once we enable that, then there we go. We can see the swing highs that Blackbird would be using to set those profit targets there. So as mentioned earlier, if you do want to create your own custom bounce signals, right, off of a different moving average, then when you're doing that, what we would recommend is not doing that on the original file here. So if we go to the main menu, there is a save as. So you definitely would want to do a save as, right, and create your own custom file name, and then you can start modifying, right, the systems there, modifying the moving averages of these systems here as you see fit after changing the file name. That way you still have the original file to go back to in case you make a mistake and want to start over there, right? All right, so with that side note, that concludes the pullback to MA system.